How's it going, everyone? Welcome back. So we are just about 1 week into the NFL free agency period for this 2023 offseason. The Bengals, they haven't been the most active team, but they haven't been the least active team. They've been somewhere in the middle here, making some very good moves, making some very surgical-like moves, if you will. Nonetheless, they started out last week, Monday, tampering period. There was a lot of questions of what's this Cincinnati Bengals team do, because it was a couple of days into the free agency period. Again, air quotes, because you couldn't sign players until Wednesday. It was a couple of days in, and the Bengals were very, very inactive. They re-signed some of their own. They brought in Michael Thomas again, got the depth option there with him returning. They made a very good signing, though. Got to talk about Jermaine Pratt. I mean, I thought that was a very team-friendly deal. They brought this guy back in on. I really thought he was going to get north of $10 million, and he brought him in for much cheaper than I thought. That was a great signing. You bring in a guy like Jermaine Pratt, coverage guy that can, again, be a big asset to this defense, somebody to build around and keep, or a cog that you can build around to keep on his team for a few more years. Good signing. Gonna get a very good thumbs up from me on that one. But then things started to get interesting where, call it a surprise, kind of was. The Bengals forked out $16 million for Orlando Brown Jr. from the Kansas City Chiefs. This guy, lots of talk about him playing right tackle for a lot of teams. He did not want to play right tackle. He expressed his want to play left tackle. How much did that factor into him only going for $16 million? We may never know. I think a lot of it did have the Joe Burrow effect there, though, where he did make it very clear that he wanted paid, obviously. I think what was really important to him, though, was playing left tackle and winning football games. And he knew, Kansas City was moving on from. You want the next best option, you come on over to Cincinnati. Bengals possibly there. Again, the Joe Burrow effect helped them. But nonetheless, though, you bring in a left tackle, and now seeing it even more so now that Jonah Williams wants traded. Obviously, he wasn't going to want traded if they didn't sign him. But you bring in a left tackle like Orlando Brown Jr., Super Bowl winner, multiple Pro Bowls, and you talk about a home run of a signing for this Bengals offensive line. He becomes what most of us expect to be the best tackle on this Bengals offensive line since Andrew Whitworth was a Cincinnati Bengal, but we shall see if that reads true. Got a lot of high hopes for this guy in a Bengals uniform, and I think he's going to live up to those expectations. And you talk about making a splash. Again, I was expecting middle-of-the-pack players the Bengals sign. Again, that's typically what they do. But to go after a big fish at the offensive line and say, hey, we are committed to protecting Joe Burrow. We know what we lost, or we know the reason we lost these last two AFC Championship game and Super Bowl playoff games. And it was a lot to do with the offensive line. We're going to protect our quarterback. We've seen exactly how dangerous and lethal this offense is when the offensive line was starting to figure things out last season before the injuries started to mount up. Massive signing, big fat W as far as I'm concerned. Then we've seen the Bengals re-sign a couple more of their depth options here, Trent Taylor and Travion Williams. We're still trying to figure out what this Williams role is going to be. They brought him back, so obviously what Samaje is gone. They're like, well, who's going to play number 2? We don't know what they're going to do with Mixon yet. Nonetheless, retaining a couple of these low-priced guys, always good to have around, guys that know the system, guys you know what you can get or expect out of as well. And then finally, we're still waiting on a little potential Foster Moreau talk. Possibly he went and visited with the Saints now as well. Probably part of his bucket list or schedule over the weekend and make a decision whenever he's done with these visits. So still a chance. But besides that, they brought in Nick Scott, the safety out of the Rams. A cheap deal. 3 years, $12 million a year. This could turn out to be a steal of a pickup for the Cincinnati Bengals if he can slot into that starting safety position there and make an impact on this team. Nonetheless, though, again, it's a very low-risk, high-reward type of pickup for the Bengals. Because they're not paying this guy a lot. You look at his skill set, his abilities, that he could really flourish into this solid safety for the Cincinnati Bengals and help out on his defense. So overall, when you look at this class, they went after a tackle. They went after a safety. Obviously, your other concerns, they don't have any tight ends right now. Eventually, we're going to see what they do with that. But besides that, you say, oh, maybe some CB action. But the thing was with the Bengals in this free agent period, it was kind of in a lot of unknown, a lot of confusion, and a lot of what were they going to do, because you knew they had $110 million wrapped into 3 guys coming up. Burrow, Chase, Higgins, if they want to keep them. So they had to play the cheap spending game in other departments, but they wanted to find the values in other departments. And I think that's what they methodically did in free agency this first week. They didn't reach for any guys. They didn't try to overpay any guys. They tried to get guys as they came. And they try to get guys on value contracts. And when you look at the players the Bengals signed, you don't look at anybody on this list and say, wow, did they pay this guy too much? I think you look at this list and say, wow, this is all they paid for this guy? I feel like he can play a lot better than what he's getting paid for. And that's things you love to hear as a Bengals fan, especially moving forward when you know those guys coming up, these younger guys they want to retain, not just on the offensive side, the defensive side of the ball too. So for me, I thought it was an excellent week one in free agency. You're not going to fill every single hole in free agency, but you can do a really good job of repairing the players you lost. And I feel like the Bengals did a great job there. Not only did they repair some of the positions they lost, they upgraded one in a big way. And I think that's what's really telling of this first week of free agency for the Cincinnati Bengals, is you get that massive offensive line upgrade. And now you say, okay, we're ending the draft. We don't feel as pressured to draft that offensive lineman in the first round. They can still look at the tight end market in free agency still. Guys out there. There's still guys out there in the safety market as well. If guys' values go down a little bit, Bengals can scoop them up. For me, though, I'm saying you got to give these guys, they could have obviously spent more, but when you look at the grand scheme of things, and the guys are trying to retain, they're trying to play for the future when they're signing these players and contend now, I'd give them a solid A-. I thought it was a great week. The Bengals did good. Love you guys' thoughts. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.